Hello, all you parents out there. Today's topic is a hot one. It's how to promote agreement with your spouse. So, how can you get on the same page with your spouse? It's tough. A lot of times, my husband and I would fight over how to discipline our kids. And so, we learned some secrets. One of them is to not fight in front of the kids. When you fight in front of the kids, it makes your children have to choose, so they think, oh, one parent is the good parent, the other parent is the bad parent, or strict parent and lenient parent. So you don't want to fight in front of the kids. So one of the things you can do, instead of fighting in front of the kids, is develop a secret signal between the two of you. So what that looks like is when my husband was saying something that I didn't think was appropriate or doing something that was appropriate, we had agreement that I could come and touch him on the elbow and he could do the same with me. And that meant that we were to go into the bedroom, come to agreement, and then come back as a united front. That saved a lot of arguments. The next one is to agree as a couple to always back up your partner in front of your children. So if your kid comes up to you and goes, Daddy, I want to go over to Johnny's house, and you know that this little twerp has already asked Mom and she's already said no, you want to back up Mom and say, well, what did your mom say? Now there is one condition here, and that is if your spouse is doing something that's physically harmful to your child, then you, of course, don't want to back that parent up. The next thing is to always go for what's right for the child instead of who's right. So a lot of times, and I'm very guilty of this, is I wanted to be right as a parent. And so oftentimes I would make my spouse wrong. And that would create lots of friction between the two of us. So go for what's right for the child instead of being right yourself and making your partner wrong. Another one is to go for win-win situations. So a lot of times in our battles between spouses, there ends up being a loser, a winner and a loser. And what you want to go for is two winners. Your spouse is the most important person in your world that helps you to feel support, to feel like you've got a team, to feel like you're not alone. And so you want to make sure that you always create not always, it's impossible to always, but as often as possible, come up with a win-win solution. So an example of this is I had a husband and wife that I was coaching, and the husband wanted his kid to ride his bike to school and become independent. And the wife was feeling like, oh, he's a little bit young, I'm not ready for this. And so at first they were arguing about this whole thing and making each other wrong. And instead what we did is we came up with a win-win. So the win-win was that the kid would start walking to school and practicing his bike riding at home. And then to work toward the goal of him being able to ride his bike. Because Mom's concern was that he wasn't stable on his bike. So they came up with a win-win that worked for both of them. The next one is to find out about your spouse's history. A lot of times we make our spouse wrong in our head. We think, oh, well, that's the wrong thing to do, or that's the wrong thing to say, or why did he do that? Why'd she do that? And so we get critical. And when we get critical, even if we don't say it, that atmosphere between the two of you creates stress in your relationship and then in your whole family. So one of the things that I found that was helpful was to find out my husband's history. So what I came to find out was that in his household there was a lot of chaos. There were 4 boys and a single mom, and there was chaos everywhere. And so I realized that my husband was wired for chaos. And so we had to work on creating more peace in our family, to work on being more calm. Another parent found out that his wife came from an Italian background where they yelled a lot. And in his family, they didn't yell. And so they had to work on coming together and finding a happy medium between the two of them. So when you do take your partner and sit down and talk about the situation that you're having trouble with, you don't want to tell your partner what to do. I was guilty of this one. I thought I knew it all. I'm the parenting instructor and I know what's right. And so I would tell my husband what to do, and you can about guess how that turned out. So what you want to do instead is you want to present the problem. So we're having trouble with our son doing his homework. What do you think we could do? How can we make this go easier for all of us? Do you see the difference in that? When you do that, when you ask the question, instead of telling the spouse what to do, they're going to get less defensive and less defensive and more willing to cooperate with you. So these are some tips on how to parent on the same page. I hope they were helpful to you. If you would like some more information about a topic I haven't addressed yet, please put that down in your comments below. You can also give us a tip that you have on how do you promote agreement between you and your spouse. And we'd also like you to like, share, or comment below.